All right, we are live. Here it is. Welcome to the On the Gareth Cliff show. It is a beautiful Friday, and the three of us are here. Where's Gareth? Oh, sorry, it's a question I should have asked maybe this week.
Do you know what? I generally know where he is. I have no idea where he is today. I have no clue. It's just us here.
Simphiwe,
I have no idea.
Okay, well, do you want to speculate wildly? Because that's the next fun thing to do.
I don't know. He's living his best life
nice.
somewhere out there doing what he shouldn't be doing, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, look, you can do whatever he wants. Yeah, Gareth's at the age now where he has to make the most of his, because
he's old.
Well, he's in a more mature decade than we are. I mean, in descending order, like it's him and it's me and then it's you guys.
I love the political correctness.
Yeah, he's old.
He's a mature man. He's a wonderful man, and that's why you watch the show every single week, and obviously why you wake up early on a Friday to get into this. So yeah, I'll be standing in. We've got a very interesting interview with Tom Burgis, the investigative journalist, at 7 a.m. today if you're watching live. So yeah, you've got a beautiful hour with me, Ben, Simphiwe, and James over there, although your name on the show is James, so let's probably keep it to that. As you can see, the studio is slightly different here. We're sort of hybridizing a little bit because every Thursday we have the On the Bounce show with me, which I must say you must go listen to if you enjoy the sport, because we really break down a whole bunch of stuff this week that is pertinent, of course, to the weekend ahead. And then we come in here and we give you everything you need to know about the whole world. James, there's a story that I want to start off with, kick it right off the bat here. It's sports wearable watches.
Right.
So do any of you wear wearables?
I used to wear my
weird sentence that you wear wearables.
Wearables. There's a name for running your life by wearing wearables.
Is it?
It's called. Damn, I should have opened the running order before we did this. There is a name for it. I think it's called quality of life assurance or something.
Jeepers, that is a stretch.
Right.
Not a very creative person came up with that one.
But I used to wear one, and now I don't anymore. I never really believed that they were accurate, though.
Look, there's a couple of things. Do you have a wearable?
Let's take a step back. What's a wearable?
So, like if you've got an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, I don't know, too many of the brands, Garmin make these things. Yeah. Basically, it's like it's a hideous digital watch that does everything.
And I have one on right now.
How? You're the only one wearing a wearable.
Was a wearable. I thought it was just a watch.
Okay, so let's go with fitness watch. Because
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So you got a fitness watch?
Yes, I do.
What made you get one?
It was on sale. And it's really cute. Let me show you.
I mean, prior to this, were you like, I really wonder what I do each day? Or could I do more each day?
No, because I got caught up with the whole like count your steps. So I can count my steps. It gives me my resting heart rate. I get messages.
You've got a Huawei. I can tell by your strap there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I could afford.
Yeah.
And
I'm not judging. I just want to get some intro before I tell you the story.
Yeah, that's all I know about it. It does a lot, but I'm just like.
But do you end your day and go, I missed those 37 steps, or
yes,
really
I look at my thing, and then it tells you if you didn't close your ring, if you didn't
Jeepers, that's a different kind of
if you didn't achieve your fitness goals for the day.
So
and then like even the amount of sleep that you get.
But does it make you worried?
Like, no, I just like knowing just for the fact of knowing. And I know it's not accurate like that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the thing. So then why do you wear it if you don't trust it?
Well, time, number one.
Well, yeah.
And then like I can more or less see like my steps.
Okay, so the whole thing about these wearables and why I want to bring up today is that they're not as accurate as you think they are.
Okay.
And the quantified self-movement, James.
That's the one I was looking for. That was the word.
Why must people make things so serious? It's like this quantified self-movement. This feels like you meet once a week and things go down. So obviously it revolves around wearing this to monitor the psychological data and activity has seen a significant rise in mainstream culture, as Simphiwe said. She has adopted this. You're a quantified self-mover. But these devices from smartphone tracking steps, they do that. They do the heart rate. You get fitness bands as well, and they can log your sleep and sleep patterns and calories and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So look, there's been discrepancies that have been put into that. People are saying that your sleep isn't that accurate. They overestimate your sleep.
Yes.
They potentially underestimate your steps, and they potentially underestimate your calorie expenditure. So look, this is all good and well, and ultimately it's never going to be scientific, right? Unless you're going to spend so much money for a really smart engineering kind of person to track you and monitor you and put you through certain steps, you're not going to get that. It's kind of like if you think, I don't know, eating a salad is healthy from McDonald's. It's a salad, but it's not really healthy.
But why do so many like professional athletes wear these things religiously if they're not like?
So James, I mean, they've got a body of work. Okay, so for example, I had a wearable for a little bit because I wanted to know two things: how much my calorie expenditure on an average day, because I need to now then match that with calorie input, and I was curious about my sleep, but the sleep was always wrong. So I would have a great night's sleep, and the watch would be like, "No, your REM sleep was nowhere," and then I'll go, "Oh, does that mean I'm tired now?" So there's like a placebo effect. And then I would have terrible night sleeps. And these things would be like, kicked it out of the park there. You got 10 hours. Your REM sleep was like 2 hours, which is huge. And then I'd be like, but I feel like shit. So then I was constantly monitoring my life on these stats, which isn't actually that good. And then I worked out roughly that I expend 2,500 calories a day, roughly, on my average day.
2,500. Do you count your calories like that?
I don't count calories.
Hectic.
I don't believe in the calorie count. At all.
Then what do you use the watch mainly for?
Just for the steps and time.
That's it.
Okay,
That's
steps
it.
and time. So do you have 10,000 steps a day, 8,000 steps? What's your vibe?
I try to do 10,000 a day, but I've been failing for the past 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, look, another thing that I feel off-putting about fitness watches, or sorry, I must use this term here, quantified self-movement devices, is that, you know, you get people who go to the gym and then they log this for points with their medical insurer.
Yes.
But then you see these same people wearing these sweaty watches to formal functions or like out or like at dinner.
No, that's
and stuff.
weird.
It's like, you know, that person has put 1,000 calories of sweat through that thing. Like, and now they're rocking up the, hey.
No, you need like two watches. You need like the old school, like standard watch where I look at you and I'm like, you have money. And then you need also the smart fitness watch.
There's got to be detachment, right? This quantified self-movement ends at dinner.
Yes, because I need to judge you and be like, okay, you got a bit of cash.
I mean, I'm all for people getting in shape and being their best and all these kind of things. But if you, it's like,
also the aesthetics of the watch is very different. So like,
maybe it's just that I notice these tiny little things like this, but it's not. It's like if you wear a hat that you work out in, but you also wear it for like social functions when you're just chilling. Like
sweat mark.
Sweat build up of like
you haven't washed it. Oh my gosh, let me judge you now.
Mineral expenditure, but I mean yourself quantifiable movement.
Quantified self movement is a crazy term.
But I'll tell you what is also really good about it. If it's the one thing that gets you moving every single day, placebo effect or smelly sweat or side, then great. Then it's already done the job. Okay. So I think if we all walk more, would be incrementally better every single day. And if that's the thing that gets you on the streets walking, cool.
Yes.
Quantify your self movement.
Quantify your life movements.
All right. So obviously during COVID, we talk about quantifying your self movement. There was less movement in COVID, but there was some skullduggery, which I want to bring up here. Is that a school worker has been jailed for stealing.
This is outrageous.
Chicken wings. To the value of $1.5 million.
Wait, how? Where? Why?
So during COVID, basically what happened is that the kids they were remote.
Okay,
but
cool.
because of the school system there, food's included, right?
Okay, cool.
So even though they weren't coming to school, the food was still going to go to the kids. So this food manager person
just stole the chicken,
who was in this job for like 10 years, Vera Liddell, she sounds shifty. She had basically a 1 year long scheme, which involved acquiring 11,000 cases of chicken wings. How many kids are in the school for a start?
Wait, why just chicken? Wait, why just the meat? Why not the veggies? Why not the whole package? Why not everything?
Maybe this particular school prides itself on giving chicken wings to learners, and it's like a hot challenge. But this is for a whole year.
And did she sell the chicken wings and make money off it?
No, she gave them to kids. So she's like a school worker. She gave them to kids as like a
so she pulled like a Robin Hood on us, where she stole the chicken to give back to the community.
Basically.
Did she give them away?
Yeah, she gave them back to the kids for the school that she was working at, didn't she?
Okay.
No,
cool,
James,
then.
she stole the stuff. That's why she went to prison. If she'd stolen and given to the kids, she would have fulfilled her primary job of taking them and giving to the kids.
Oh, that would, yeah. No.
Because then it wouldn't be theft.
But then
She'd
wait,
literally be doing her
so
job.
what does she do with the chicken?
She sold it, obviously. I don't know if this chicken
Does she make
bail.
money? Is she a millionaire now, at least? Does
She's
she
in
make-
prison now, Simphiwe.
Yeah, but
crime doesn't pay.
Was the crime worth it? That's what I'm asking.
Well, look, if you're stealing $1.5 million worth of chicken wings on wholesale value alone, you're going to be a millionaire. But she was caught because ultimately people look at the budgets, right? So she wasn't just like stealing like the allocated amount of chicken wings. She was then going, bump it up a little bit here, bump it up a little bit here. And before you know it, that's how she got to 1.5 million.
Hectic.
So I don't know if Vera had like another plan, like, sorry, we're missing, need to go get new ones. But you know how much you must hate your job? It's like, I'm going to stick in this job until I find a way I can steal, or I could find a way to like monetize this whole thing.
No, I get her.
$1.5 million.
I understand.
My question is, how many individual chicken wings is $1.5 million worth?
She must have been working with other people.
That's
But
stupid.
the
Like a
just-
drug
And
ring.
wait,
It's
is
chicken
the
wings.
are the chicken wings like cooked already? Are they like pre-made? And then I just need to know so that we understand.
Simphiwe, you're doing that typical female thing where we're presenting a story and
I
you're
just
giving
need to
10 questions that we have no
understand.
fucking idea about.
I just need to understand.
What do you want? Lemon lime, peri peri seasoning? What was the
Yes,
packaging?
because then would understand
There's
if
a
she really
chicken knock
made
on the door.
money. Like, was it chicken a la king? Was it
Since
like
we didn't ask her those questions.
We decided that she was doing a crime and she's now in doing the time.
and how did she get caught?
Because the budget. So ultimately every business is run through a spreadsheet. So
Sure, but if you
there was a budget like discrepancy, and they did all the paper trail back to the fact that Vera, and then obviously they chatted to the kids. It's like, are you getting a kilogram of chicken wings this week? And they'd be like, fuck no. And then you put two and two together, and there it is. As Mapela says, she's the original tenderpreneur.
I
It's
love her
African.
work,
Love that.
but
Yeah,
got caught, so can't respect it too much.
but wow, 1.5 million.
That's a lot of chicken wings, though.
Jeepers.
And like people like chicken, guys. I just need to understand: did it have flavor? Was it pre-packaged? That's it.
For
Like,
the sake of the story, let's just assume these kids are not going to then cook. So basically, she's
So-
running a cooked business.
then it doesn't make sense. Why did she just take the chicken? She could have taken the chicken and the rice. And then she could have made even more money. Woo,
Yeah.
guys. You see, if you're gonna steal, do it right.
Look, I think she was just looking to make money. I don't think she was looking to make a story or a culinary crime here. It was more about just theft. Patrick wants to know what's in your mug, Simphiwe.
It's just tea.
I mean, earlier Nico was suggesting that you had been at the bookmarks again.
Ooh,
No,
Oof.
no. I don't drink during the week.
that's what you
I
say.
don't.
Okay. So, guys, another thing I want to chat about, and it's actually great that I get to be in the show because I get to chat about these things that I don't miss. Because normally I just talk about sports and that's my life. And there's more to me, I promise. On the so this time of year, right? We are August going to September. It's the best time to be on the Mediterranean. You're out of like the crazy, massive heat of like peak summer. And this is where like the fancies get in their yachts and they do all that kind of stuff. But have you heard that now there's so many of these yachts? And I don't know if it's like, I'm sure it's a mixture of nationalities, not just those Russian oligarchs or whatever. But one of the biggest flexes in the last sort of 10 years in particular has been about the yacht life. Because it's like cars have always been around, but now the whole yacht experience, getting into the Mediterranean. But now there are so many yachts that they've had to close beaches in the Mediterranean, like south of France, whatever, because so much shit is coming off these yachts and literally washing onto the shore.
Way. No.
So that whole Mediterranean's fancy, right? As in the beaches are great. Some of them are private. Some of them are nudist beaches. Like they're beautiful little alcoves. And now you've got all of this stuff just washing up because these boats, like you go on there, you toileting, you're jawling. There's obviously oil slicks that come off it as well because they're running motors. And it's closing beaches.
This is a billionaire's nightmare. That's all I'm saying.
It's not because they're on the boats. They see the shit going away from them. It's the every person nightmare.
No, but if the yachts now can't go out and they can't do the things that they used to do, just like in the sea and whatnot, that's upsetting.
If they were to maybe put something in place that says, okay, right, there's, I don't know, X amount of yachts per square mile, or you have to really curtail your shit.
I never really thought about how these boats get rid of that stuff, actually.
So this story then brought it up to me. It's like, okay, so these are yachts with like, I don't know, let's just say 30 people max. You get those super yachts, they're pretty big. Then what does a cruise liner do? Because now there's all these cruise lines in the Mediterranean too. Do they just have better systems of what they do with their poo?
No, they don't. They just chuck it out in the sea.
Do you know this for a fact?
No, this is according to Simphiwe and James. That's why.
Cruise ship survey of 2023.
They just chuck it out in the sea.
But I mean, look,
Makes sense. No one's gonna know. They compare a tax or a fee or whatever.
There is wear and tear to everything in life. So this many boats on that kind of Mediterranean is big, of course.
Yes.
Mediterranean, but it's still a kind of enclosed place where people flocked around certain areas.
Yes.
So like that would be. Imagine you saved up so much money to go to like the Amalfi Coast or somewhere in the south of France, and you go into the water after spending 300 rand on a beer, or whatever, and it's like. Oh, what is that?
Oh, no.
And you are basically in the.
But it would explain why there's literal shit in the sea. It would explain that because people are just dumping it there.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Cape Town. I grew up by the ocean, and I've obviously got a certain affinity with it. But I don't miss it.
People are not demure.
There's stuff in there.
They're not mindful.
Pause. Stop the bus. Right there. This is a word I've heard for the last 2 weeks. I don't know what it means.
Demure is to be reserved, like a nice person, sweet almost, right?
Okay, so you've used certain adjectives to describe the word. Why can't we just use those words?
Well, let's go back to the originator of demure, the demure movement specialist here.
I'm just saying, I was going to say, people are not demure, they're not mindful, they're not very courteous, okay? So in that regard, we can't be so like, oh, I can't believe that the Mediterranean is smelling and looking like this, because people are people. No matter how rich they are, no matter how broke they are, they're still gonna not take care of the planet if they don't have to take care of the planet.
So, you know, Greenpeace, okay, I love those guys. They're hardcore. They've mostly got beards and they're rough people. But like they go out into the ocean, they find these Japanese whaler boats and they spray them with water cannons, and they're annoying. They're like the Jack Russells of ocean activism. Wouldn't it be funny if then people started going, okay, right, we're going to get a vendetta against these spilly billionaire yachts, and they go up and they're like rubber ducks, whatever, and water cannon them. And like big signs saying, keep your shit. Like
while
that would be funny.
Eating their caviar and drinking champagne. There's your water gun.
And people just rocking it with like Mariah Carey blazing from like big speakers. Like, get out of here.
It could work. It could work. It could work.
Look, there's quite a lot happening in the Mediterranean. It's actually quite a sad story that's on the back of this. Again, when you have a yacht, you think everything's going to be, let's use the term plain sailing, right?
Nice.
In the Mediterranean as well, because it's in the open ocean, so to speak.
Yes.
That's kind of chill. That's what they do. That's the best cruising place. Well, there's this billionaire British tycoon called Mike Lynch. So he was there with like best mates, family, whatever.
Sure.
And then out of nowhere, this huge storm happened just off the coast of Sicily. Now, it's hard to say what actually happened, but basically, the yacht underwater done. And I think 6 people have died, including this guy, Mike Lynch.
Hectic.
So you are a billionaire who owns a yacht and you are living this life. And then suddenly trouble brews in the coast, weather just whips around. And they said like it could have been like a mini tornado even that happened on the water. So heavy wind, heavy rain. And the people, the dead bodies were found in their cabins. So, having a bit of a sleep, maybe you've just clapped a whole bunch of Aperol, taking a bit of a nap, and then suddenly your life just turns around like that.
So I heard one of those guys it might actually be like the owner of the actual boat they were on. His company was busy investigating, I think like the beginning of COVID or something like that. His company was investigating something pretty intense, and then this happened.
Well, see, that's exactly what Big Pharma can do. They can send waves and plagues and clouds, James. It's been
they can control it all, huh?
He was a billionaire who made his money in like security, spyware, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, he was a very smart man. He was referred to as like a literal genius.
Wow.
And he was on the verge of creating something really amazing. But now he's no longer with us because he was living the yacht life.
So scary. It's like also those people that got stuck in that submarine. I think it was this year, last year. They were also billionaires, all of them.
Those ones just brought it upon themselves.
Yeah.
Nah, those ones I don't feel sorry for.
Look, there's certain things I know we chatted at the time about that, but like if you got all this money, I'm not doing that.
No.
And even this thing with the yacht, I would love to, but at the same time, I don't want to be in a toilet which is doing this.
Don't knock it until you've tried it. You
Yeah.
know, there's a reason why all these billionaires love it so much. I'm sure once upon a time they also thought, I wouldn't be that guy, and look at them, be that guy.
Yeah, as a multi-thousandaire, I'm just not going to set foot on a yacht. Yeah? So Simphiwe, what is sonder? I've seen this around a little bit, but I'm sure you know what is sonder. Seeing
Okay,
as
James,
you're so
you wanna-
demure over here.
What's happening? What
Do you want to
need
take a crack at what sonder could mean before I share?
It sounds like the name of an album.
Well, there is a group.
It's like a new Kanye album.
Yeah.
Or is it just Kanye's new name?
No.
Is he
It
just
wasn't a
Sonder?
group. There was a guy
Now
who used to call himself Sonder, but it has nothing to do with that and
was
what
it quite far off.
Yeah, in terms of music. But
Okay.
if you've ever been sondered before, or you've
Oh.
ever felt the feeling of sonder,
Ooh.
it's a
Sorry.
it's a feeling. It's a feeling, darling. This is the feeling that you get from realizing that everyone is having an experience as complex as your own. So it's like you'll be in traffic and then you realize like there's so many people in the world, and each and every single person right in front of me also has their own problems. They're also going through whatever nonsense. And you realize that these are not NPC players. These are actually real life people. And we're all just going through it. And they also all think they're main characters.
Is this an actual word or did someone make this up?
No, this is an actual word.
I've had this thought, and often in traffic.
Yeah, like, so.
Yeah, look at
that's
you guys sondering with each other.
Have you ever experienced it, Ben?
Look, I think you can be around people who have infectious spirits that then you either gravitate towards or aspire to.
Okay.
Would that be sondering?
No, but it's like that
Yeah, I mean, look,
realization.
If we're all at the stadium watching the Springboks and they just score, everyone's elated at the same time, right? That's a sonder.
No, but it's more like when you realize like that aha moment when you like walk into the shopping center or something
Okay,
like
so-
that, and you're like, fuck, everyone here actually has their own problems, like
Their own lives.
their own lives.
Oh,
Like
I just knew that from the day one, though. Most people have problems, trust me. I mean, that's not new to me.
okay. So clearly you don't sonder. You clearly don't, and this one does.
I do. How often do you sonder, Sims?
I don't.
Are you surprised how much you sonder?
No, I don't. I
Oh, I'm
mean-
sondering again. Shit. I thought I knew it all, and now sondering again.
I don't. I really don't. I don't care about people like that. So it's just like, it is what it is.
So, like, speaking of Kanye, I don't mean to bring him up, but what is the story with that wife of his? Has anyone heard Kanye's wife talk? Can she talk?
I don't know.
Not once.
I've never heard her speak.
I don't
She
even know
is
what
the
she
head.
does.
Every now
She's
and
an
again.
architecture, and she's the
She's-
head of the Yeezy architecture. Yeah, Bianca.
Wait. The Yeezy architecture.
No, Well,
That
no,
sounds
music
like she's the head of the
Yeah,
Derek Zoolander
this-
Institute for Reading Good and
You know what I'm trying to say. Okay. She is the head of architecture for the Yeezys. Okay.
I mean, obviously,
go.
like, beautiful woman. I'm sure she's fantastic.
No, she's
I don't know
a
anything.
Timo version of Kim
Wow.
Kardashian.
I don't think so. I mean, she's
She
young.
is.
She's younger than Kim Kardashian, right?
Sure, but like she is the like cheaper version of Kim Kardashian.
But-
Here she has short hair, but when she has the long hair, and she has slightly bigger boobs, but she looks like Kim.
You know what worries me the most? This woman has no pockets. No matter where she does, what she does in life, where she
Right?
goes.
She's
I
never
mean,
dressed.
this picture here we got on screen, her phone is into the band of her waist of her pants.
But isn't it most women's clothes don't have pockets anyway?
But she's
Yeah, that's the
she's
problem.
everywhere she goes, because you know when you go to Instagram search, because like you need to go to a certain profile, or whatever. Instagram's like, here's all the distractions for today. And often this woman in zero dress pops up. I say often, I mean like every couple of weeks. It's like a thing, like not every day I'm thinking about who is this woman. But everywhere she goes,
She's
she's
not always sondering about her.
I'm not sondering her. Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, she looks so demure, but every picture that she's basically wearing nothing. So she has no pockets. So she has no phone, no keys. What life does this woman live? It must be the most carefree.
That's why Kanye wears so many big jackets, because he carries it all.
He has to carry everything.
Oh, please. That man doesn't love her. I can tell you now how he treated Kim Kardashian, because he's very like vocal on whoever he dates. He needs to control the how they dress, right? So he did that with Kim Kardashian, and we saw that he kind of did a really good job. He did take her up a level. Like Kim had really great style, and then like with Kanye, Montebella. And then comes this one, the Timu version of Kim, and he's just like on the other side. He's doing everything that he would have never done with Kim Kardashian. She's never dressed. She's walking barefoot when they go out. She's always looking like
This sounds like a cult.
she wants to run away.
Yeah,
That's how she always looks like, but then she never does run away. And I'm
because
just
she's
like,
got a slightly glazed look to her face too, which suggests maybe what if he's microdosed her to a certain thing, like every morning. This feels like an episode of Black Mirror, guys. It really does. I just every night, like I had a passing like fascination with the Huck Tour girl and the phenomenon that is her. But that makes sense, right? She became a meme. She said something funny. This woman looks like she's trapped. She's under captivity of some sort. She's overly demure.
Overly
oh my
demure.
gosh.
Like she just has this
I
weird.
feel like I know her body more than I should. Like I've seen her titties out.
But this is why. Is there anything on the internet of her talking?
No,
I don't think there is.
no, there isn't.
What if she's got a voice like Minnie Mouse? So
What if
every
she's
every now and again, while the rest of the world is sondering, stuff like this pops into my mind. It pops into my mind, and I just think, what is the story there?
Maybe it's Uncanny Valley vibes, where she's actually a robot. She looks like a robot.
At this stage, James, you could give me any answer, and I'll be like, okay, cool. Now I know.
Gosh, no,
I would not be
guys.
surprised.
That's the
I would
truth.
not question you further about it. I would take it as given.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what her story is. I don't know where he found her, but it was very quick and in a hurry after the divorce with Kim Kardashian. And I think she's the rebound chick, you know?
And he does the same thing with her, where he like uses her as his model, right?
Yes, as a prop. And she basically, just follows Kanye around. I feel like she makes more headlines than Kanye now. Like we talk about Bianca more than we talk about Kanye, which is scary.
Well, he's not bringing new music out, so
She's essentially
really-
talentless if you think about it.
I don't know. I mean, you've just said that she's an architect for the architecture school of Yeezy.
No,
I still don't know what you mean by that.
she's the head architecture of Yeezys because he has a brand called Yeezys.
But an architect.
What is she architected?
Person is someone who makes buildings.
Yes.
I don't know, guys. I just saw this on Wikipedia. Okay, check it out for yourself.
We'll put it on Kanye.
All right, James,
like
what's the
something.
latest on Raygun? Because she's not going away, is she?
No, she's not.
She's
I'm
a
just
fave.
kidding.
But she does
So
more than
much better.
Kanye's wife. Let's give her that.
Much better.
She has skills, guys. Leave her
Guys.
alone. Like,
So, the Olympic goat is what I'm dubbing her, right? She's the Olympic goat. I know we did our Olympic goats on the Bounce the other week. This one makes the list, right? So she did her dance. It was great. But then AI got involved
Oh, wow.
and kind of did her dance for her. There is a video, if Flix could kindly load it.
okay, cool.
This is it.
Oh,
Oh,
let's
okay.
go.
So now she's like a proper athlete.
You could say that. It gets
What?
very
Oh,
Wait,
yeah, this is
what
when
the-
AI gets very weird. Hey?
Wait, what the fuck? Why are we seeing 3, 4, 5? Why is the hand
How did-
becoming a leg?
Wow, James, this is the scariest. Now she's a
Like,
Mario
wait,
brother.
what?
She's a mushroom
Now she's a mushroom.
That. Wow. Now she's Greek. I thought the most disturbing thing about her entire routine was her tongue stuff, actually. Other than that, I would maybe give her a free pass and say, well, you know. wasn't
Free
your best.
pass. Whoa, wait.
That's
wait.
the kangaroo.
Why did I
She's doing
just
it.
that's the free
Not the
pass. Wait,
kangaroo.
that's what you're giving a free pass. I just need to understand. Like,
But it's she is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean,
absolutely.
I saw a funny meme this week saying this guy said, I've been to Australia. That is their best answer.
Her move is the kangaroo. That is crazy.
I didn't even think it was the kangaroo. It's just that she did that because she needed something to do with her hands. And then it's like, the kangaroo. Okay. Because it was also kind of like a bit of a T-Rex.
She did the small arms too. She did like a little.
No. Raygun, come to South Africa. We'll teach you how to dance, babes. We'll show you the moves.
I'm a piano vibes.
Yeah, I mean, she's already doing it. We just need to give her some rhythm.
You know,
she can do the, because I feel like at some point she did the microwave, like
The sprinklers.
whatever that thing is. White people dance moves, like she just did it.
Big box, little box, cardboard box.
But like, I just wish I'd never seen what you put on the screen now because
It is wild.
And that's the thing with AI; they do such scary things. The tongue stuff at the end was too much. But James, someone who is actually really legitimately successful and sought after, Ronaldo.
Cristiano.
This week
What did he do?
he created a YouTube account.
He did, and I've got some numbers that might blow your mind, as well as some
He's a
context.
YouTuber now?
He is, and it's
Okay.
weird. It's not weird, actually. It's not that weird. So Mr. Beast, you guys know him, right?
Yes, of
Yes.
course. He is the number one YouTube account, right?
Correct. With
For now.
311 million subscribers.
Wow.
Okay, so that's
Might
almost
change
the most
at the end of this year.
Also true. Ronaldo started his page. It took Mr. Beast 132 days to reach 10 million subscribers. Cristiano Ronaldo did it in
10
12
hours.
hours.
12 hours.
He's now currently sitting on 28.7 million subscribers.
Has he released any content?
There was like a teaser trailer that he did, and then there was like a mini interview that he did with his wife. It's like also
You
a
mean
teaser.
girlfriend? When did he get married?
Girlfriend.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's on that whole
Mm-mm.
forever after. It's like, you'll have my
Mm.
kids, but you're not my wife.
Sure.
It's very weird. I don't understand why men do that. Please
Don't look
explain.
at me while you say that in a condescending manner. Jeepers, I just got an eyeball and eyebrow raised there.
But what I mean is, and it's also a statement I've heard men say where they will look at a woman and be like, oh, like you would make such a great mom or the mother of my kids.
As not said by Kanye.
But they would not marry that person, right? So they look at you and they think, oh my gosh, you're incredible and you're worthy to carry my kids and I can have 4, 5, even 7 kids with you. But marriage, never that. And I don't understand because I feel like the kids is a bigger commitment than marriage.
It is, but you always just dig back in that person's family history. Something's happened there. But also, like, maybe he doesn't want to get taken in the divorce settlement of all his money, but then you have like prenups and stuff, don't you?
Yes.
Oh, he must do what that other player did last year, and basically he's a footballer, and all his money sits with his mom.
Yeah, she
And then-
owns everything essentially.
Yeah, him and his wife divorced, and then she got nothing because he's basically poor, and the mom's got all the money. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I don't understand this. I think it's one day, someday, someone must explain it to me.
Yeah.
This whole baby mama
Simphiwe, you
thing, like
ask too many questions, make too much stress. This is the first thing
But
we
I
could take out of
don't know,
today's show.
But I'm very curious because clearly Ronaldo is doing it, né? And he's there. He's like the 1% of the 1%ers. It goes all the way down to the brokest of all the brokest gents. They do this nonsense where they make women baby mamas, but they will not marry them.
I mean, at the top of my head, not that we as guys come together and have these conversations every Thursday, but maybe that person just hasn't met the right person yet. Maybe that person feels that they're so insecure they need options. There's a variety of things that we can speculate on here. What I want to know, James, is does Lionel Messi have a YouTube account?
I don't think he does.
If he doesn't, he needs to set one up now. Because I tell you what, trolls being trolls, everyone will get on YouTube to make sure they beat Ronaldo's record.
This will settle the all-time GOAT debate of football.
And that's exactly what would happen. And everyone would jump on it. You get a couple of cocky gits like me to say, wouldn't it be funny if then Messi beats Ronaldo?
Well, Messi already copied, what are those guys' names? The ones that made that drink, Prime.
Yeah?
Messi made one now.
El Primo.
That one or whatever it's called. And it looks very, very similar to Prime. Also, it's also a hydration drink. He's got different flavors, different colors. Like
It's also just full of shit ingredients, though. Or did he actually make an effort?
Well, it only launched when he moved to America. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'll say.
Okay, we give away too many good ideas in the show. But let's talk a bit of sports. Because obviously Beyond the Scoreboard with me, Ben Kopinski, powered by Superbets. That's every Friday where we give you an update on what's happening with the weekend. And the English Premier League, well, it started last week and it started well. So we had a big laugh internally on our team here because Sandile, who you met recently, he's a big Man United supporter. They had the first game of the new season, and like they squeaked home against Fulham. But he was so happy that his team was top of the log for like 11 or 12 hours. And yeah, I mean, we could have been supportive, but obviously we weren't. And now that'll be forever like funny for the rest of the year because we'll just bring that up. So if you are a Man United fan, they'll take on Brighton. They're away to Brighton at 1:30 on Saturday. Spurs, after somehow dropping points against Leicester, to which Jamie Vardy really, really rubbed it in. They'll be at home to Everton at 4 o'clock. Man City will be taking on Ipswich at 4. Aston Villa versus Arsenal at 6:30. Interestingly, I mean, if Arsenal were to have a bogey team in the Premier League, it is Aston Villa. Last year, they dropped all 6 points to them, and that kind of was the difference between them winning and then Arsenaling. And then Sunday, we've got Wolves versus Chelsea at 3, and then Liverpool versus Brentford at 3:30. James, your team, I mean, how confident are you that they could potentially win this league, or is it just Man City?
Sure, this season, I think it's way too early to tell. We're also
obviously, but we're going to have a dash here because today is today.
I want to say super confident. You know what? New manager, new team, new vibes. Very confident.
Very
Make
confident.
a challenge for the title. That's what I say.
Gosh, okay.
That's my opinion.
What's the opposite of demure? That's what James is feeling about his team right now.
Delusional is what it is.
So we also got Curry Cup because there's no no rugby championship this weekend. Of course, the Boks are on top of that log there. They went to Australia. They gave them 6 of the best, trousers down. Aussies had a cry. They didn't want to scrum. And now basically we are on top of the rugby championship. So we'll get to that next week because it's the All Blacks coming to SA. Damn, it's exciting. I just like hearing those words. And it's 2 test matches, which makes it even better.
Are you going to any of the games?
I'm going to the Ellis Park one here in Joburg.
Nice.
And then
that's a big one.
in the
Nice.
Cape Town weekend, I'm going to a friend's bachelor's in George. We're going to play golf and stuff. So
That's exciting.
that's the cool thing about test matches, right? If you want to do something, it's a great thing to add to a weekend like a bachelor party or anything that you're away for.
We did paddle and rugby last weekend as the TRN team.
Oh,
That's
nice.
what we did. It was paddle, and then we threw some Springbok rugby in there. It's great. Made for a great weekend.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so cool. And also when you're away, like in a small town, wherever, you go find a place where people watch rugby. It's one of the best ways to experience the local whatever. Because you see Oaks coming in, getting hammered, and people will be out of towners like you. And that's the thing. The Springboks just bring everyone together.
True.
They're a galvanizing force in this wonderful country of ours. But there is Curry Cup this weekend. So look away now, Province fans, because they've been dog shit this whole season so far. But Friday, the Blue Bulls will take on the Griquas at 7:05. This week, I was actually at the Blue Bulls at Loftus.
I did see on your Instagram.
So I was interviewing one of the under-21 players for that Won't Quit Crew series that I'm
Okay.
making with Ryobi. So this is episode 7 of the 9-part series. And it was so cool because I got to watch these guys like going through practice.
That's amazing.
So the main team, the main buller, they're in the stadium, and then under-19s and under-21s on the outside fields.
They just relegate them outside.
Well, I mean, look, everyone's got their own thing, but the vibe there is so cool because they all gym together. So whether you're like just out of school, your
Nice.
first pro contract, you're still there with like Nizam Carr and Embrace Papier, and they're all there.
Nice.
I got to see all that. Like Jake White's just cruising around.
really, really.
Yeah, that was a really
Wow.
cool morning.
That's what I actually. Sorry, just to cut you off. It's like the thing. That's what I like about rugby. Is like it's such a. I don't know if it's just because we're South African, but it's actually just such a. There's no like airs and graces about most rugby players or
But,
teams.
But James, tell you what, it's because it's a contact sport where Oaks are murdering you constantly. It's hard to actually be someone of airs and graces because someone will find you at the bottom of a ruck, or
Yeah.
somebody will tackle you in
Yeah.
open play, and quickly they'll say, "Yeah, Leicester." Whereas in football, I mean, the guy's got so much money. He's got like a Kanye wife in the side. He gets like the preferential treatment. So yeah, Saturday in the Curry Cup, we got Western Province hosting the Natal Sharks at 3. The Free State Cheetahs will be taking on the Golden Lions at 5 in Bloem. And then Sunday, the Griffins will be hosting the Pumas in the wonderful town of Welkom at 3 o'clock. But it's also a great weekend because Formula One is now back. So they took that month-long break to obviously be spreading shit on their yachts in the Mediterranean, as we picked up in an earlier story.
in Monaco.
But now they've come back, and now we've got 10 races till the finish line. So, yes, it's Verstappen's to lose. He's on 277 points currently. Lando Norris next best on 199 with Oscar Piastri 167, and then Charles Leclerc. I'd like to mention him in the mix, but you just know Ferrari are going to do something great and then do something really, really shit. So that's the kind of mix of who's out there. But the Dutch Grand Prix at Circuit Zandvoort, Max has won there the last 3 times. Obviously, it's going to be a sea of orange because it's the Dutch. And the Dutch are weird when they support things. They rock up in camper vans.
In numbers.
It's like they're about to go to war.
All the numbers. They
Smelly,
bring flares.
no showering, beards.
Is that the prerequisite to go to war? No showering, smelly, and beards?
Well, of course, James, because you've committed yourself to something that might take a while. And they're in their droves just cheering on for Max to be number 1.
Do you think Lewis is going to do things at Ferrari next year, or is it going to be a bit of a...
No.
Not a...
I don't see Lewis changing Ferrari being Ferrari.
I see what you're saying.
But for the legacy, to want to be... See, the whole thing with Lewis, and I don't know if this is how he sees it, but this is how I see it. And seeing as I'm hosting the show, it matters.
That's fair.
But people are always going to say that Michael Schumacher was the greatest because he did something great in cars that weren't always great. He was so dominant. He was the ultimate best driver. Whereas Lewis was almost like, he was great, but he wasn't as good as Michael as an all-round sort of package. So if Lewis goes to Ferrari at this stage of his career, where he is obviously older than most of these oaks, it's kind of like me in studio with you guys, if he gets it done at Ferrari, it's an absolute legacy cementer.
For sure.
So the inspiration and motivation is all there. Can Ferrari be consistent enough? I highly doubt
That's the
it.
big question.
So yeah, the Dutch Grand Prix on Sunday, that's going to be hugely exciting. And then it's a really great weekend for golf as well. So the Women's Open Championship, that's the final major of the year. Some people I know you've been watching since the beginning. It's at St. Andrews at the Old Course, which is always great to watch on TV.
Okay.
So we got 4 South African golfers who are in the mix there.
Nice.
And the weather's going to be shot because, let's be honest, it's Scotland. It's exciting because you see them all wrapped up in the cold. They got to play all kinds of different shots. But then it's also the BMW Championship on the FedEx end of year thing on the PGA Tour. So what happens is you get to a certain number, and then if you're in the top 50, you get to play in this really amazing event, the BMW Championship, and then from there it gets whittled down to the top 30, then play the Tour Championships. An interesting dynamic is that Keegan Bradley, who has now been named the Ryder Cup captain, not a player, he was snubbed, tremendously snubbed when they went to Rome as a player. And they've now given him like the consolation prize that you can be the captain because there's no one else. Anyway, he's leading after the first round, which is quite the story because he was like, I want to be there. I want to be with the players. I want to show that I've got what it takes so they can. Americans say dumb shit. But anyway, BMW Championship this weekend is going to be hugely exciting. And that's pretty much your big mix for sport this weekend. What I will leave you with on the sport, though, is that the great thing about the English Premier League is that there's so many games all the time. And what I've done this week is I've gone into Super Bets. And I've got a bit of a pick 6 going. So what I say is that Man United and Brighton are going to draw. I say Spurs are going to win. Man City is going to win. Arsenal's going to win. Chelsea's going to win. And Liverpool's going to win. None of that sounds too implausible. I think that's the word.
That's about right, I think.
So now if you go to Super Bets and you put that into a multiplier, you're going to get odds back of 22.57. It may have fluctuated a little bit, but a hypothetical 100 Rand can return you 2,357 Rand. That is not betting or financial advice, but it's a fun way to put a little bit of money down for a weekend long thing. So pick 6 games that you feel really comfortable about and have a bit of a go. Of course, Superbets supports responsible gambling, strictly no under 18s. Sorry, Flex. So winners, of course, know when to stop or just, be moderate. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling hotline is there if you need it. 0800 006 008. Of course, Beyond the Scoreboard, brought to you every week by Superbets. And if you go onto the On the Bounce show, Superbets are one of our partners there, and we give a full rundown of all these things that you need to look into for the weekend. So catch that podcast, or of course on the Real Network, you can find the video from last week. Sorry, yesterday. I feel like I've been in the studio for so long. It's like time is now.
Ben, we only saw each other like 8 hours ago.
Oh wow!
Time has now been squeezed into a compression chamber, and here we are. Yeah, guys. So we got some.
I want to ask you about something.
Sure.
Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, November 16th. Is Jake Paul dying that day? Is that where we seeing the end of Jake Paul?
No, unfortunately
Mike Tyson
not.
is a machine.
I know, but he's also 60.
He's
James.
also old.
But he's an animal. The mindset he gets into when he does these things.
He's old, and I think that's what you must also look at. I think he will do some damage to him because of experience, not because of what a beast he is now. Like, this is when you say experience versus youth, and you're gonna see it like play out, that he'll be able to counter certain attacks, he'll be able to duck certain things because of experience. It's not because the fact that he is so fit and so young, but the other one has youth and speed on his favor. So I think it's gonna be one of those where if he can like wear him out, it's tickets, dog.
So
Tickets.
I will go a step further. I agree with those things. They're all key aspects. When you go and get into a fight, you have a fight camp, okay? So it's like studying for an exam.
Right.
So let's put it this way. Jake Paul's got all the textbooks. He's got all the time in the day. He's got all the caffeine. And he's got all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets to study the most. Mike Tyson doesn't have all the textbooks. He doesn't have all the time to study. And he might have forgotten a lot of things he's already known about the subject matter. So when he gets down to that exam, he doesn't have as many answers as Jake Paul has. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it. Because yes, this Iron Mike Tyson, this oak was the most dangerous man in the world. He had fucking pet tigers. There is a way that he can beat Jake Paul. But Jake Paul's got all these other things. So if Mike comes out and goes, you know what? I've got a great round in me. As in, like, that's all I've got. Because your footwork goes, your response time, all that kind of stuff. So if he comes out and says, I'm going to fuck this guy up in the first round, Jake Paul's going to be like, cool. Dance around a little bit, pick him off with a couple of jabs here and there, get him to that third, fourth round where basically he's more pliable. And then he'll be like, okay, now I'm going to lay some hammers. And that's the unfortunate thing about boxing. And when you're boxing a grandfather, a 60-year-old man, is that you've got all the strings. You've got all the bows, and that's what's going to happen.
Okay. I was just interested because, I mean, obviously...
But James, the entire world wants to see him just push clap him.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Absolutely. Also, we can't see Mike Tyson go down like this, guys, to YouTube.
No, he's not going to go down like
but he's not
without
actually,
a fight.
but
But I
guys,
definitely think that age is not on his side.
It'll
I
play
think
a role, yeah.
he's not a YouTuber anymore. He's had enough fights. The amount of time this guy spends boxing, you know, the whole 10,000 hours thing, whatever.
Sure.
It's like, guys, I'm a podcaster. I'm no Joe Rogan. I'm no household name. But I spend a lot of time talking into a microphone. So I can legitimately call myself a podcaster.
Sure.
Not the best, but like Jake Paul, he's a boxer. I think he's now a boxer / YouTuber and not the other way around.
Boxer YouTube. That's a career turn, huh? So that was a good audition for...
I mean, last week I did also shoot my shot. This week I'm shooting my shot like every week until the month of August. I'm going to shoot my shot live on the GCS show for you guys to see that I got this.
I know you got this, but you're not getting the job. Sorry, I've got to be ruthless here. Simphiwe, you can't be on my show as well as a female features presenter. You are too valued here. I see what you do in this place. You hold it together.
Oh my word.
To put the extra pressure of you to be on the show as well.
It's not pressure. Did you see how effortlessly that was?
It was pretty clean. I got
to answer you because I actually know what's
rambly.
going on. I actually know what's going on. Come on now, put some respect on my name.
Look, you are setting a benchmark. If you do want to be on the Bound show, we are running for the whole month of August a presenter search. So if you're a female presenter who cares about sports and does that kind of stuff, just make a little audition on Instagram and then tag us the show and we'll assess it. Well, some people will assess it actually. I'm now putting all judgment onto her.
So no from me until I get the job.
Guys, we got to wrap it up in a bit. But Simphiwe, there was another story I wanted to touch on this week about this German company that's freezing bodies.
Yes.
As in like the Austin Powers, we're going to freeze you now and bring you back when we need you kind of thing.
Yes. Literally, yes. So this company was established in like 2020. Right. And I'm curious, before I tell you how much it would cost to like basically freeze your body, and hopefully someday science will be able to revive you. How much do you think this would cost you?
Hang on a second. Hopefully someday.
Hope, yes, it's still a hope.
Has this company not given you enough confidence to say it's actually going to work?
No. So they are still trying to figure it out to see who one day, someday,
it's like selling a car with no
could
brakes.
They possibly, revive you? They've had 5 people volunteer so far,
Didn't Walt Disney freeze himself?
and they have 6 pets. So you can, even your animals, pet lovers, dog lovers. Hey, now you could potentially, freeze your loved one, literally or figuratively, when they pass on. for one day, someday. It's still a one day.
No, but
someday.
they're passed on, they're dead, right? If you freeze a dead person, you've just got a frozen dead person.
Yeah, I mean, if you agree to this, they'd have to put you to rest because you have to agree whilst you're still alive.
But then also, like, what if the technology to bring someone back to life or whatever only happens in, like, let's say, another 100 years? Is it my great grandchildren that's bringing it back?
No,
Also,
it's
how
the
do they know we want me
company.
back?
That's the company. I think it's Tomorrow Bio. That's the company. They're based in Germany. And the aim is
Sweet
in
name.
2025 they're gonna go to the USA and also start getting recruits from the USA. But guys, there is money attached to this. You don't just do this thing just because you want to. You have to pay a fee. And I'd like to know, how much do you think you pay?
To freeze myself.
Sorry,
when I'm
guys,
dead.
just before we get to the money, I've just got to ask a couple of questions quickly.
Okay.
Just try to dart them in here. Why do you want to live later? Look how much the world has changed in the last 10 years, right? What an absolute mindfuck if you suddenly get thawed in 50 years' time. English and dialect and all kinds of things have changed. So you're going to feel so lost in this new world that you've now been frozen into. All of your mates, the people who you have a kinship with right now, are dead because they're not frozen next to you.
Exactly.
So now you come back. Let's just say it works because I know for a fact it doesn't. Otherwise, this would be known as a thing. But you've been brought back. You're a stranger in a world you know nothing about. And there's going to be some sort of defect. Like your brain might have atrophied, or you won't be able
melted off of it, or
like your muscles will be fucked because they need to be stimulated. So you'll be like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons at best if you come back. What's the upside here?
I mean, I guess the upside would be if they do successfully manage to do this, you would be in a totally different time. So you would still be studied. Like in terms of the science of like understanding what happened in 2020, what happened in 2024, who are you, how did the humans live? Because I'm pretty sure it would have evolved, and how life looks like in the future is very different to how it is now. So even how you talk would be very different to how the future people are talking. If we being honest, I don't know. I think you'd still be a science experiment.
It's
in all, like
okay. So I think it comes down to it. How much would someone pay you to do this? But now you tell us how much people are actually willing to pay them to do this.
So there's been over 650 customers that
No
have
way.
already signed up.
no.
And you would be paying a measly, lousy $200,000 just to participate in this. But it gets better. Wait, it gets better. You could
How,
also
what?
just
You?
preserve your brain. So you could pay $81,000 just to preserve your brain.
And there's at the end of the day, there's no guarantee
There's no
from
guarantee.
anyone that this works in 20 years.
There's no guarantee.
I've heard some horse shit in my life, but these people have all sondered together for this. This is it's an odd thing to want to do this. I mean, maybe I'm like more of a carpe diem kind of person, but I mean, Vincent just points out something so basically honest. It's like your penis falls off from frostbite if you get frozen, right?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, they freeze your body in like liquid nitrogen. There's a whole science. They've figured it out. They've figured out how to preserve your body for this. I just think it's a scam because in even 10 years' time, I don't think if they don't have the answers now, I don't think they'll have the answers in 10 years' time. Like I think they should have established this when they had the answers to say we can try this in a year's time. Like you can wake up in a year's time, and if this works, you can do like 50 years or whatever. But
Okay, wait.
Disney was ahead of the game. He did this years ago. He's a frozen man currently. He
and
froze
he's gonna
himself when
stay
he died.
Is
frozen
he?
until the end of
Genuine?
time.
Yeah. For real.
Where?
I have no idea.
Disneyland.
I swear.
frozen?
In Disneyland. I'm going to
frozen.
find out.
Okay, so I'm gonna. This is the final thoughts here. If they can freeze you because they think that they can bring you back from the dead, then yes. When I die after a long and fulfilled, wonderful life, freeze me. Go for it. Because if they can get the technology, they can say, right, guys, what we're gonna do is if we freeze you, we're gonna pump shit into you, all kinds of stuff, which will then ultimately make you regenerate and come back 20 years younger. Then I'm in. Then you can have my money. But I don't think that's what they're selling here. Okay, we're going to wrap it up with that.
Yeah,
James,
they
tell
are.
us about this interview we're about to have right now.
We are about to have an interview. It's with Tom Burgis.
Yes, so Tom Burgis, I almost said Tom journalist. Tom Burgis is an investigative journalist.
Yeah, best-selling author and award-winning investigative reporter. He's exposed corruption scandals, covered terrorist attacks, coups, neo-Nazis, and forgotten conflicts. Him and GC have a nice little chat. The interview is about 45-ish minutes long. I think it'll be quite
Great. I'm sold. I'm in.
That's what I do. Not
All
sold
right.
on the frozen body thing, though. That's the thing.
All right, have a wonderful weekend from us here in the studio live. We are going to go and not be frozen this weekend, although the weather looks pretty pretty tepid
We
here in
should go make
Gauteng.
coffee and sonder together.
I'm going to go have a coffee at a sonder right now. Catch you back next week.
So where do people get tickets? How do we get our hands on tickets?
Okay, so tickets are available on Howler. You check out the options. It's 275 Rand for a general access ticket. And you can you can take on the park and ride facility from the Mall of Africa, which gets you into the center circuit.
Who's your partner there?
Sani Car Rental
Okay.
is our partner. 20 shuttles running between Mall of Africa into the circuit.
So people arrive at Mall of Africa, just look out for Sani Car Rental.
Yes, it's at gate entrance 6 and 8.
Okay.
Look out for the Sani signage, the festival motoring signage. There's branding all over to direct the visitor. Get into the shuttle and back. And there's free parking if you have the Admit app.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Hey, it's me, the little voice in the back of your head. Hear me out. There's something fishy about your medical aids network options. They say you pay less because you're only allowed to use certain private hospitals. But then why do they also reduce your benefits? Do yourself a favor. Check out FedHealth's grid options. You save 10% for using network hospitals, but none of your other benefits are affected. Now that's how medical aid should be. Remember, fedhealth.co.za.
All right. Well, Tom Burgis is a best-selling author and an award-winning investigative reporter. I found out that he actually spent some time living in South Africa just a moment ago, but after abandoning his early efforts as a wandering poet, he served as a foreign correspondent, both here and in the rest of Africa too. He spent 16 years at the Financial Times, including as a long-standing member of their investigations team. And he's exposed corruption scandals, covered terrorist attacks, coups, neo-Nazis, forgotten conflicts, and traced dirty money all over the world. His journalism has won awards in both the UK and the US, as well as in Asia. And in 2023, He joined The Guardian as an investigations correspondent. It is such a pleasure to have him on the show today. And Tom, with that as an incredible opening salvo, I mean, we've got to get into your book, which is the main reason for our conversation today. It is called Cuckooland, Where the Rich Own the Truth. And I believe, just to start us off, I believe you've actually been threatened by some very, very powerful people, oligarchs. You call them kleptopia, the kleptocracy. Has this book brought you into great danger?
Well, that's sort of the origins of the book in a way, in that I wrote a book called Kleptopia. It's my last book. It was about how dirty money is conquering the world, built on actually time I'd spent as a correspondent in Southern and West Africa, and then some time I spent in the former Soviet Union too, and looking at these networks that run around the world of those who rule through corruption, and how these groups, everything from kind of dictators in the former Soviet Union to Wall Street bankers, are forming alliances and gathering power unto themselves. And some of the oligarchs who featured heavily in the book evidently didn't enjoy it, and they through a company they own, they brought a lawsuit against me in London in the High Court. And it gave me a look into this world where if you're rich and powerful enough, you can deploy the legal system to try to crush free speech and crush legitimate scrutiny of power. And while I was experiencing that myself, I heard about another case that was going on in the UK legal system, but one that was happening completely in secret, where a rich and powerful businessman who had given a lot of money to the ruling party was making legal threats against a former MP who had raised some questions about his past and where he made his money. And that's the origins of Cuckooland.
Now, I've read the book, and there's so much to get into here, but I love the way you open it up with a story about how some very, very wealthy people in the world use an international concierge service, which maybe some people are completely blissfully unaware of, but how these people can effectively get you on a private jet to pretty much anywhere, including those places where most of us will never go. It doesn't matter what's going on around them. It doesn't matter whether they're coming from or going to a war zone. It doesn't matter what they bring on board. This is how the rich operate. And for most of us, it's completely unknown.
Yeah, this is behind the high wall that shields the 1% from view, if you like. The concierge service you're talking about is called Quintessentially, and it was founded by and is run by a guy called Ben Elliott, whose aunt is Camilla Parker Bowles, now better known as the Queen of England, married to the King of England, of the UK indeed. And what Elliot does, and why it's so fascinating in trying to understand how power works today, is that if you pay the fees for Quintessentially, you could get anything you want. Now, Elliot likes to publicize some of the kind of racy aspects of this, like, I will airdrop tea bags to Madonna when she needs them. I think it's Slippery Elm tea bags specifically. Or if you want, a boutique in, I think, Shanghai closed so your wife can go shopping there on her birthday, you can do that. If you want to propose on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, he can make that happen. And he talks about kind of trading favors. It's all about knowing how to do a favor over here and call in a favor over there. But the bit that is not advertised, it's a bit I've written about in the book, which is that fee-paying members of Quintessentially, who made their fortune all over the world, including in really corrupt dictatorships, they can have access to the UK royal family. So this is, as you say, where the book opens, is that our main subject, Mohammed Amersi, a rich donor to the Conservative Party, as he will become, is at that point in a transition from making a lot of money doing business deals mainly in the former Soviet Union, but also in the Middle East and elsewhere in the telecoms industry. He's moving into a different phase of his life where he is seeking elevation to the kind of global elite, or certainly the British elite. And where better to start than the UK royal family? And Ben Elliott flies Mohammed up to Scotland, and he has dinner at Dumfries House with then Prince Charles, now King, This is in 2013. And it's this extraordinary moment where we see how the kind of access and the kind of social status that it's always said, money can't buy, that actually money can buy it. It is for sale.
Yeah.
And something bigger and more fundamental than that is for sale. And that's what I've been writing about for a long time now, really, including actually my first book, which is about Africa, called The Looting Machine, about the modern plunder of Africa by the oil and mining industries and the conflict and corruption that causes. It's this idea of legitimacy being for sale, that since the end of the Cold War, really, we've been in this era where huge fortunes are made in violent, corrupt states like Russia of the 90s. And there is this service provided by, I guess, in part the Ben Elliots of the world, but also lawyers, bankers, Western management, consultants, and so on, and certainly stock exchanges. It's like a looking glass you can walk through. So you seize your fortune through whatever means in, let's say, Russia, and you walk through the looking glass, and you come out the other side as a visionary businessman with terrifying lawyers who will put the fear into God into any journalist, put the fear of God into any journalist who tries to tell your real story, and with lawyers to defend your reputation, and a huge corporation in your name, and you might give some money to a university to endow a building named after you, or a part of an art gallery, and you're rewriting reality. And this is I think the huge story of our times, is how just as the free press all around the world is wobbling and crumbling, the most powerful people in the world have developed the means to shape reality into whatever they want it to be, and force the rest of us to go along with that story.
I mean, in some ways, it's just a continuation of what's been happening throughout history. Is access to leaders, to great kings and queens and powerful people. It comes through money and influence. The only difference now is that a lot of these channels aren't so public. And we can argue that before they might not have been as well, but it seems that even the very worst people in the world, provided they have enough money, can not only do the business of cleansing their reputations, but they can do it at the very highest level with the people who we always thought were beyond the reach of the corrupt and the revolting and the dirty and the human rights abusers. So, I mean, that's a very stark contrast, I should think.
Well, I think two things have happened there. One is that it's gone global, right? Like everything else, this process has been globalized. Yeah. So yes, absolutely. With the touch of a button, you can transfer your fortune from Moscow to Mayfair. But it's also the case that I think we've become slightly less. How to put this? We've become more clear-eyed about how power works, because I think for a long time the narrative, certainly as regards Africa, was that intrepid Western entrepreneurs would arrive to try and drill for oil or dig for cobalt or whatever it may be, and they would inevitably become mired in corruption as a result of corrupt locals. And that story, thankfully, is really unraveled, and more and more we see that grand corruption is often exported into Africa from more powerful nations seeking natural resources. And I think, but nonetheless, it still holds true that the most valuable commodity that is for sale in Western Europe and North America is this idea of legitimacy. That, put it another way, if you are a Moscow gangster in 1989, teaming up with an old KGB colonel and some former communist apparatchik, and you want to turn yourself into capitalists, and you use all your means, all the AK-47s you can lay your hands on, all the bribery and blackmail and threats you can possibly assemble to build a $1 billion fortune. Maybe a few people die and disappear along the way, and a lot of people are paid off, but you control a few mines and maybe a telecoms company, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. You get rich in lawlessness, right? Since the end of the Cold War, that has been the great trend of huge world-changing fortunes being made in states where there is no rule of law. So that Russia is the big example, but it could be Iran or Venezuela or Saudi Arabia or China. And then where do you want to keep that fortune safe? You want to keep it safe. You want to give it the protection of the rule of law. right? You want to stop someone stealing the fortune the way you stole it in the first place. So the process of this huge money laundering process happens, where the wealth of entire empires is shifted onto Western stock exchanges, and reality is rewritten so that thieves become tycoons and dictators become visionary statesmen. And for a long time, this is the game we played with Vladimir Putin. And in Cuckooland, in the first half of Cuckooland, what you see is a man, Mohammed Mersi, who's getting rich on this fault line. He's a guy who can do deals between these two worlds, between the world of supposed legitimacy of laws of the West and of places where ultimately power comes through menace and violence and authoritarian rule.
I mean, it all sounds very conspiratorial, and your book goes to great lengths to explain some of the stuff that so many of us, again, I'm just blown away by how much of this I had no idea about. And I think of myself as a fairly well-informed guy. But a lot of it also sounds, and it's probably apt that you're at the Guardian now, because a lot of it does sound like, oh, the rich, the rich are so terrible and all they do is abuse everybody and how awful. And it's a massive sort of get together of all these people who have and taking away even more from the have-nots. I mean, here in Africa, and you go into this in the book too, about how, China and Russia, for example, are the new exploitative colonial powers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing this at just an unbelievable rate and impoverishing and doing more damage than, because of modern technology, than any former colonial power could have got right, save perhaps the evil of Leopold of Belgium. I mean, it's really quite something. And I'm talking to you from Africa today, a place that you know well. What do you think the consequences of this are going to be long term for this continent? While these oligarchs are making themselves rich, while these governments come in and just exploit ad infinitum.
I think there's a line in Orwell that's very useful to remember here, which is that you look at the interests of the lords of property and their hired liars, and the lords of property. Orwell wrote that in one of his in a passage where he was writing about the fascism in the 30s and the civil war in Spain, and how the thing to do is pay attention to. Another way of putting it is like, who's benefiting. So when we talk about the interest of the rich, sure, there are conspiracy theories about that, but the difference between a conspiracy theory and identifying an actual conspiracy is rigorous reporting, and that's what I hope this book has in it. And for a continent like Africa, the central point here is that while we've had 30 years of globalization where money has gone global and with it power has gone global. I mean, a good expression for these vast sums of money today is kind of liquid power. You can shuffle it around the world, it can change form, and you can use it to buy, let's say, influence in Washington the same way you can use it to buy a mine in Congo. But the ability to hold power to account, the law, ultimately, that has stayed national. So whether it's the Hawks in South Africa, with all the trouble though they may be, or the big law enforcement agencies in the UK, France, even the Department of Justice in the US to some extent, it's very hard to hold transnational power to account with the institutions we have today. And what that means, especially as those Western institutions get more and more undermined by austerity and by reckless, ruinous leaders like Donald Trump, is that the most powerful actors in Africa, which have long been the Western imperial powers, followed by the multinational corporations that inherited that Western imperial power, the oil companies and mining companies and so on. Now, Russian groups like Wagner are really influential, and absolutely China, through its state-owned companies, is hugely influential. The point is that these powers are ever more shaping the destiny of Africans, and the ability of the average Nigerian or Kenyan or South African to hold those powers to account is negligible because their law enforcement institutions have no hold. Similarly, sorry, go on.
Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, going back to South Africa for a bit, and you were here at a time when this was really starting to become news. We were exploited most grievously by, the likes of these big international firms, your McKinseys and your KPMGs and your Deloittes and your PwCs. These were the people who were actually making it possible for South Africa to be stolen from and looted, and for the public to be the greatest losers in that equation. And these were, you know, running wild and running riot on our continent, and under either instruction or protection from Democrat or Republican administrations in America, and largely the moneyed interests that protect them.
I mean, you put it perfectly. Absolutely, right. But I think it's interesting to look at.
That was when Obama was president, and I don't think that Joe Biden's done us a whole lot of good. If you know,
well, a lot of those companies operate out of the UK. I mean, but crucially, let's look at what they're selling. How are those companies able to inveigle their way into the South African economy the way they did? And yeah, absolutely, I mean, Gupta Gate and everything surrounding that was appalling.
Sure.
In the same way that a lot of these professional services companies are able to extract massive public contracts from the UK government, they sell the same thing. They sell legitimacy. They sell the ability to say, we have been audited by X, or we have appointed Y professional services firm to give us the rubber stamp of approval for our corporate management's plan to cut 6,000 jobs, or whatever it may be. And there is this industry, and it's in everyone's interest at that level of wealth and power that this industry exists to, in many cases, rubber stamp the kind of power we're talking about and giving it the look of approval. I mean, you can look at the record of the big auditing firms. You mentioned PwC, this kind of firm. Look at their record of in Russia.
Yeah.
Look at the accounts they sign off on. And one of the just to move it away from Africa for a second, one of the most extraordinary moments we've had in recent years of an incredible about face of the kind of the prevailing narrative was the day after the invasion of Ukraine, where and within a day, especially the UK political leadership, the UK main government spokespeople on these subjects, who had for many years worked hard to encourage the oligarchs who surround Putin to bring their corporations to the UK, to list them on the London Stock Exchange, and then in many cases go forth from there to do appallingly corrupt business deals in Africa. Yeah, cementing the kleptocracies that condemn generations of Africans, especially in places like Central Africa, that condemn generations to live under predacious kleptocratic rule. That was one of the most energetic tasks of a large part of the British elite, the City of London and parts of the ruling party. And within a day, the narrative was, these oligarchs are appalling cronies of Putin. We want nothing to do with them. And we're going to impose sanctions on them. But 5 minutes ago, they were our best friends and donors to our party.
I mean, I'm seeing this more and more. There's such hypocrisy. I mean, they were also completely tolerant of all the corruption that was happening in the Ukraine up to that moment too. And now suddenly, you know, Zelensky and his friends can do no harm and can do no ill. And here in our country, our government's come out strongly behind the opposite side. I mean, they've aligned themselves with some of the worst actors in the world. Certainly our foreign minister and our president, our recent foreign minister, not the most recent one, have all said that they're right behind Putin. And actually, that's who we're going to side with on this. So it's
the huge danger here, is it not, is that this is what I'm trying to get at with this idea of kleptopia, that you have international alliances that are based on a shared interest. And what is the shared interest? The power to loot. The power to turn political power into personal wealth. And you really do see these networks, sadly, including some political figures in South Africa. But I mean, one of the most striking examples is when you see these networks and they're pretty well documented, of clandestine trading arrangements between Venezuela, Iran, Russia, North Korea. There's a good network. China's plugged into it too. But so there you have. So what are the different masks there? Islamist, socialist, communist, I mean, Maoist, I suppose, in North Korea, sort of crackpotism, and Putin's kind of pseudo-Russian nationalism. All these different masks, completely conflicting in many cases. Take the mask away. What are these networks? They're networks where small, corrupt cabals, in Putin's case, just a handful of old KGB guys, are getting fat and rich and literally buying themselves solid gold toilets in Putin's case.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, and this is what I'm trying to do in these books, and especially in Cuckooland, to rip away these masks and see who is really benefiting from these networks of power without tipping over into conspiracy theories. And you've got to be really rigorous in the reporting. But what we can clearly see is who is benefiting from this kind of power. Forget the narrative of Islamism in Iran or socialism in Venezuela. It's a cover story for grand theft.
You can forget it, but it's also an important part of kind of how socialism ends up working in practice, is that it is principally about making a few people in the upper echelons of the system quite rich. And it's been that way in every place where they've tried to implement it. It's also interesting to me that there's this overlap between the stuff that you're exposing in the book and the way that so many people all over the world, in particular the Western world, are feeling about the elites in those countries. You know, the people in America, the people in France, in Germany, in Britain to a large degree, these are people who are now sick of being told what they should think, what they should do, who they should vote for, and how much tax they should pay to a system that seems to them to be perverse and against their interests. Do you see that parallel as well?
Absolutely. And I think that the great danger of that, and this is, I suppose, a potentially dangerous side effect of when good solid journalism is done in the Financial Times or the Guardian or the Mail and Guardian down in South Africa or the Daily Beast or whatever it may be, the New York Times, that exposes this hijacking of power for corrupt ends. The danger is that continues to damage faith in democracy. And so what you can end up with, of course, is someone cynically hijacking that disillusionment with democracy. And that's exactly what's happened with Trump. Now, the irony, of course, is that, and I've written about this quite a lot, as have many others, is that Trump is the ultimate creature of the global kleptocracy. You know, he's a failed businessman who stumbled into reality television, was able to use his brand to absorb enormous amounts of money from the former Soviet Union that was going into real estate in the US, that was looking for nice brands that they could slap on their buildings and people who wouldn't ask too many questions about the money, where the money came from. That's Donald Trump's business model. And sure enough, when he's propelled into power, he governs as a kleptocrat. The people around him enrich themselves, but many of whom have been charged with that since. And he has simultaneously harnessed anger with corruption to permit his own corruption.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, the media have overwhelmingly, that the mainstream media in the United States have been so overwhelmingly behind the Democrats that they've almost been a proxy for them. And the media have to take some responsibility for their own role in all of this. And I'm sure you would agree with me that they haven't covered themselves in glory by standing up for the common man. In fact, the media in America and in Britain particularly been standing up for those elites.
Oh, sorry. I mean, which bit are you challenging? The story of how Trump rose, or the role of the media?
How Donald Trump does his business is obviously up for question, and I think that we should be looking at that. But the media has lined up almost to a man behind the guys who are not Donald Trump, and they're the ones who fabricated stories about Russia, and the rest of it, which have all turned out to be complete nonsense in retrospect. And whether
I mean, some of it has been shown to be true, but it was overblown. I think it was overblown. Yeah,
absolutely. So I don't think we need to argue about the detail of that. But it appears, especially in the light of what's been happening in the last week in America, and this assassination attempt and a whole lot of other things, that in fact those elites are starting to get extremely uncomfortable because their patterns and their ways of doing things are not under threat from Joe Biden and the Democrats. They're under threat from Donald Trump. I mean, if he gets his hands on the apparatus of government again, the big fear that so many of these people have is that he's going to take the wind out of the sails of so many parts of the American establishment, which are not serving, honestly, the interests of Americans and are rather serving the interests of these elites, most especially the security services. Don't you agree?
I don't really agree with that. I think that I see your point. I think, but which is that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think that Donald Trump is Jesus, and I also don't think that we're looking here at the character or the morals of a person, or else we'd be in big trouble on both fronts. But I do think that what his existential threat is to Homeland Security, the CIA, the FBI, all this lawfare that's been perpetuated against him unequivocally by the Biden regime. I mean, we can see it happen in real time. All of this is scaling up to be something where the establishment is under threat if this man comes to power. And that is why so much is being arraigned against him.
I'm not sure I quite go all the way with you there. I think that there's 2 points maybe to make. One is that Trump very clearly is a criminal and has been convicted, and his business practices were massively fraudulent, and that's now been pretty well demonstrated in courts. And he ruled in with complete disregard to the law. Now, are there questions about whether the Democrats are also trying to play the same game of politicizing or weaponizing the rule of law in the states? I think there are serious concerns about that. Absolutely, yes. Just to go to your other point, has the media been in the West in general been enthralled to big to the 1%, to the richest in society? Absolutely. I mean, you just have to look at media ownership.
Who's paying their advertising fee?
Well, and who owns the newspapers? But absolutely, I agree with that. I think the danger, and would a Trump presidency be a threat to parts of the US elite? Absolutely. But it's also a mistake to think that Trump is some sort of anti-elitist. I mean, he is utterly surrounded by the rich and powerful. He has massive donors himself, who are just a different faction of the same elite, and he would, I think, do far more damage to the rule of law in the US and the institutions of accountability that are supposed to and often do check power in the interest of the many than the Democrats have done. But that is not to say that the Democrats, certainly from Clinton onwards, have not absolutely mired themselves in corruption. Absolutely.
I'm also curious about how it's possible for so many people who have money and have influence to kind of be thumbing their noses at the rest of us. You know, thanks to social media, there's some of them who are stupid enough to share all their exploits. And I think, you know, this has been a boon for people like you who investigate these things, because you don't really even have to leave your house sometimes. They put their stuff on their phones and they share it with the rest of us. They are thumbing their noses at us. They're kind of showing off.
So this is the who? The rich and powerful.
The world's rich and powerful, yeah. They're showing off, I can get away with this, I can do that, I can buy this, you can't. We're going to carry on doing this because I'm untouchable. I mean, almost to the point where it's laughable, because you would think if they were smart enough to have got there in the first place, they'd be smart enough to avoid bad publicity. But it doesn't seem they care about that. They want attention.
Well, I think it's a sense of impunity, isn't it? That because whether these rich and powerful people we're talking about are in South Africa or the Gulf or in London or wherever it may, or in Moscow, or wherever it may be, or indeed in Beijing. Part of what Cuckooland is supposed to be about is this ability, this industry that exists to, if you are rich enough, to suppress any and all information that you don't want to become public, any and all scrutiny that you don't desire. So this is mainly by the use of in the UK, defamation law, libel law, slander, data protection law, privacy laws, and so on, through these incredibly rich and powerful law firms, but also through influence in the media, private intelligence agencies sometimes. It's a kind of privatized authoritarianism, if you like, to try and to be able to crush down any part of the narrative you want to. And then once the page is blank, yeah, sure, you can come piling in with your Instagram feeds of your top yoga tips that day as you do your stretches on top of Kilimanjaro or whatever it may be. And but I think you have to see those two things together, that the ability and the sort of thoughtlessness in a world of horrendous deprivation to run this constant feed of Michelin-starred breakfasts that you're enjoying. The other half of that is the ability to crush anyone who says, "How did you pay for that Michelin-starred breakfast?"
Right. I'm curious because you've been at the coalface of this, investigating these people and finding out who they are and where they are. Who are you most afraid of? Who do you think in the world are the most dangerous people? Because these people we've just spoken about, who are having fancy breakfasts and flying around, getting their tea brought to them by helicopter and all kinds of, those people are almost laughable, and some of them are comical and ridiculous. But there are some who are genuinely dangerous, who can get away with murder, and who would be very pleased to put someone like you out of business in case you end up talking about them.
Yes, I've had plenty of threats, legal and otherwise.
Yeah.
It's far worse for the incredibly courageous sources in well, all over the world really, who but certainly some in Africa, who trust me with, who take a risk to trust me and other journalists with information. They're the ones running the very greatest risks, and the ones to whom we should all be most grateful. Although they will obviously never, by definition, gain any recognition, or we certainly hope they don't, because we hope to protect them. Yeah, there are journalists like me and others get lots of threats. I think I would say one thing in answer to that, which is something that's really become apparent to me in all these years of doing this. I mean, going on for 20 years now. Is that at the very end of Cuckooland, I finish several hours in a room with Mohammed Mercy, during which he's been screaming and shouting at me, telling me all sorts of things about myself and my nonsense book, and something sort of occurs to me about him, and it's something that's occurred to me at other points of this reporting all over the world, which is that there's not some unique character trait about the rich that makes them want to be able to project the version of themselves that they would like. And there's not some unique capacity among the people of the central Nigerian state of Plateau that makes them burn each other's villages. Yeah. And there's not something unique against the there's not something unique about the Angolan oil minister I once met, who professed himself absolutely baffled to all this corruption and all this poverty that was existing around his beautiful office, as he was in the thick of various corrupt deals. And I'm sure Putin too considers himself the hero. No one thinks they're the villain. It's not a flaw in individual people. What I think a truth, if there is one that I think I've stumbled on, is that any of us in the right circumstances would want to twist reality to project the most wonderful version of ourselves, the angelic version of ourselves. Anyone under the right pressures would burn a village. Anybody who had got rich from corrupt deals would want to see themselves as blameless. The danger is that we are failing to build the institutions and sustain the institutions of the rule of law, the free press, a principle of equality that would restrain these instincts in all of us for the greater good.
So that brings me to the most important thing I think your book is about, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I love the idea, and it's kind of in the subtitle there anyway, is who owns the truth, right? And the truth is now something I don't know about what it must have been like 500 years ago or 200 years ago, but it seems to me there was a lot less argument about what the truth was maybe 50 years ago. It was true if the news told you that. And these days, I think for various reasons, honesty, the capacity to be able to tell people things has been squandered in certain places. It's hard earned in others. Who does own the truth? And is it possible to corrupt and to twist the truth if you just have enough money?
Well, I mean, that's taken me a book to try to answer. And I very, very much hope that those listening to this will pick up a copy and see what they think themselves. It's quite short and it's quite funny. But in the ideal world, of course, no one owns the truth. And just towards the end, I try briefly to grapple with the kind of history of the truth that you're talking about there. This is not a book that does that does that. There are other brilliant books that do. But briefly, I tried to go back to, I suppose, Darwin. So to go back, nearly 2 centuries, and there's this extraordinary democratizing idea of human biology and of evolution, and the effect that advance for science has on the notion of the truth. That in one huge way, the truth is liberated from one group who used to own it, which is religious authorities. Right, the truth no longer belongs to popes and the like. Right. And then you also, at the same time, you have you have the spread of mass media. A booming newspaper circulation all over the world. And it's true that it's very hard to generalize globally in this way, but certainly in parts of the world of this since then, I think you have had this huge flowering, not for the first time in history, but a flowering of the idea that the truth belongs to nobody, and that is the basis of a free society, right? Is that anybody can stand up and if their argument is the most persuasive and supported by the best evidence, then that is our best go at the truth at that time, and there is no arbiter thereof. Now there's all sorts of other aspects about what's gone wrong since then, and it's to do with the abuse of the media from within, for instance, but by media owners, by abysmal journalists, the collapse of the business model of journalism because of the rise of the internet. But also, I think there's also this insidious idea that's grown up with social media that we each own our own truth in a way.
Truth.
Your truth is, I think, a very is a very dangerous idea, and I suppose perhaps the most honest position to end up with is to say nobody owns the truth, and actually nobody knows the truth, and the idea of an independent scientific truth, the kind of truth that journalism is supposed to reach towards, is always slightly out of reach. You can never have the whole of it. But if you're trying in good faith to reach towards it as a scientist, a journalist, or just a human being stumbling through our lives, then that's good faith, as opposed to trying to twist the truth for your own personal agenda, whether it's Putin inventing new histories of Ukraine, or Trump inventing a new history of himself, or even, down in South Africa, whether it's the ANC distorting the liberation histories of South Africa to support corrupt rulers. I mean, this is the essence of how you get to a free society, right? That idea that the truth itself is free, and we all have a little claim on it.
Well, you've done an excellent job of trying to make sense of this. Again, the places you've gone, the people you've spoken to, the fact that this is a global, ongoing story makes it very, very exciting. I encourage people to take a look at Cuckooland. Here it is up on the screen, where the rich own the truth. Tom Burgis is our guest. It is a great pleasure to speak to you, Tom, and I wish you luck with your ongoing work. And I hope they don't get you. I really hope.
Thanks. Well, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you. As opposed to fending off lawyers for another half an hour, this has been really nice. Thank you.
Well, keep up the good work, and I'm glad that you've been able to talk to South Africa again. Come and visit us when it's safe to do so.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you.